The days are longer, the calendar is filling up, and I want to feel as good as this beautiful summer weather. That's why I've been loving Groons. It's one daily pack of gummies that covers my greens, vitamins, and minerals, and even has 6 grams of prebiotic fiber. So I don't need to juggle a complicated wellness routine on top of everything else. They taste amazing. They're easy to toss in my bag on the go. Plus, they're vegan, gluten-free, and HSA, FSA eligible for reimbursement. Save up to 52% off with promo code podcast at gruns.co. That's code podcast at gruns.co.
We hear questions like these all the time. Can TSR injury law help me if I'm hurt at work? Yeah. How about if I was hit by a truck? Yes. It's simple. If you've been injured, it's TSR time. Call us today for a free consultation at 612-TSR time.
It's the Go Gopher podcast with Mike Grimm, episode number 6. I am Mike Grimm, voice of the Golden Gophers, and welcome back to our podcast. We're extremely excited to have a living Golden Gopher legend set up for today's Go Gopher podcast. He's entering his 41st season as head baseball coach at the University of Minnesota. John Anderson will join us on the podcast in a moment. His team opens the season this weekend in Florida. Our Go Gopher podcast is presented by our great friends at Sunbelt Business Advisors and True North Mergers and Acquisitions. If you're a business founder planning to exit your business, start by contacting Sunbelt Business Advisors and True North Mergers and Acquisitions. Sunbelt serves more businesses up to $5 million in revenue than anyone, and True North M&A serves companies with revenues up to $150 million. Get a confidential, no-cost, no-obligation business valuation started today. Make the most of your life's work. Visit sunbeltminnesota.com or tnma.com today. Our podcast is also sponsored by State Farm agent Tony Hoagland at champlaininsurance.com. As always, our thanks to Tony. We invite you to subscribe to the podcast. You can also go back and listen to the other Go Gopher podcast. Last week, for example, we heard from Golden Gopher quarterback Tanner Morgan. It's absolutely free to subscribe and free to listen at any time. This week, we talk baseball. John Anderson joins me when we come back.
Hey, Gopher fans, this is your State Farm agent, Tony Hoagland. We are super excited to be part of the new Mike Grimm Show on Talk North. For the year of 2022, we will be donating $10 to the University of Minnesota Children's Masonic Hospital for everyone that calls our office or checks in with us online and mentions that they heard about us on Talk North and the Mike Grimm Show. We are really excited again that Mike came on board with Talk North. You can reach us at 763-421-4900. You can find us on the web at champlaininsurance.com. Again, 763-421-4900, or find us on the web at champlaininsurance.com. Roll the boat, Sky Yuma, go Gophers.
Hey, it's a baseball season. Yes, indeed. It's upon us. It's game week for the legend John Anderson. Coach, how excited are you? First of all, good to see you. I'm excited to see you. But how excited are you for Gopher baseball to get going this weekend?
Well, we're excited. I mean, I think it's been a much more normal year for us in terms of our fall practice and player development time. And since we started back up in January 15th, and it's been more normal. It's nice to look at your schedule and see a 6-game schedule, normal type of schedule. I'm really happy for the student athletes are going to have a chance to hopefully here play a normal season. And I think that's the best news. It's been a challenge for all of us over the last couple of years. And most importantly, I think student athletes have been through a lot, and it made me the happiest if we can have a normal year here and then get back and do what they love to do, and that's play baseball and fulfill their collegiate careers.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, and not to bring up last year, but it was such a tough year, a unique year. I mean, a lot of teams were going through a lot of different things. What did you take out of the year, though, and just in regard to, is it one that you just flush all together and say it was just an anomaly, or there are some things you learned that, you've been in it a long time that maybe popped up that you had to adjust a few things? Or how as a coach who's had as much success as you have had, how do you try to come out of that and be better for it here in 22?
I think every season you go through, there's information that can help you in the next season. The next season, I think, regardless of your win-loss record, obviously the last year and the last 2 years have been challenging in different ways. But I think you take something out of each season, a good, bad, or indifferent, especially try to make adjustments or changes to the things that didn't work or things that you feel like you need to do if you're going to have a chance to be successful. I just think the lack of time, player development time, number one, since 2020 was shut down in March, and the lack of summer play. Finally had a full summer season this last season. This is a player development program. We don't get finished products. We get kids that need a lot of player development time, a lot of weight room time, fundamental development, skill development on the field. And so to lose that much player development time, I think we saw the impact last year. No question about it. And looked at the league last year. You look at the rosters this year, there were so many teams that when they got shut down in 2020 were old. There's many players in the league, especially on the best teams, that were 23, 24 years of age. They had lots of experience. They limited the draft to only 5 rounds in 2020 and 20 rounds last year. So the number of college players, not only in the Big Ten, but across the country, the talent and the depth of talent in some of the rosters because of the pandemic and the additional years of eligibility was incredible. We were a young team in 2020. We needed to play. We needed player development time. And I just felt like last year we were still stuck in 2020. And I feel like we've caught up some here, but we still have some guys that are juniors and actually seniors in school that have played very, very little Division I baseball. And they're going to have to play this year and get out there. So we still have some guys that need to gain some experience. And that's what the first 15 or 20 games is going to be about, to get some experience, find out what we have, and go from there. So now we look at our team, and if you look at our roster, we have one of the older teams, at least in terms of the ages of the players in school. Then some of the other programs, all those guys are gone now. So it's hard to look at college baseball and really get a sense for where people are at, because the rosters are so different from team to team.
Well, and it wasn't last year, too, one of those deals that some schools were able to take advantage of the exemption where you could go over the scholarship limit a little bit, and others were limited in what they could do. And so you had some fairly loaded rosters that you guys were going up against, right?
Yeah, there were some schools in the league. I would guess they had probably 18 to 20 scholarships, and we are at 11.7, which is the max, and rosters were unlimited. And some schools in the fall of 2020 had 60 guys on the roster. And we chose as a department, which I support, that we have gender equity mandates and things, and we had to stay within our limitations. And we were allowed to go up to 40 if we wanted to, but that was the limit. And but we were allowed to increase our aid beyond the 11.7. So and I think when you looked at that piece of it, then some schools had more scholarships, they had older players versus others. So there's the gap widens significantly. And I think that's why you got to be careful how you evaluate your win-loss record last year. I think we got to look more at, our team, the development of our players, the culture of our program, and the relationship piece. And we're not able to have any team meetings in 2021, and we had to, always be in small groups and eat in our rooms and things of that nature. And one of the players said this fall to me, he said, I actually know the freshmen this year. Actually got to spend some time with them. And I think that's another part of our program that we've invested a lot of time in over the years, and that's building relationships within our team and creating a team where, you put the team ahead of yourself, and you have some of those conversations about how we want to be and that program we want to have, and take an interest in somebody other than yourself and really get to know each other. And I think the relationship piece and around leadership and self-leadership this year is really grown and taken a significant step back to what we want it to be, and I'm excited about that piece as well.
You're off to Florida to open the season this weekend, and then you get to extend that stay a little bit. How important can that be sometimes, just to get away and be that group, as you mentioned, the importance of team building? Are you looking forward to this time now a little bit?
Well, yes, that's a big part of it. Just an opportunity for the guys to be together and spend some time together, continue to bond and develop those relationships. Number two, it's going to be a 10, 11-day period of time where we can really do some player development. We're going to get to play 8 games and, really get to use our entire roster through the week. We get to practice and, get to get back on the field on a consistent basis. I think it's going to be critical part of our jump starting our team for 2022, and looking forward to obviously the weather. If the weather cooperates and we're able to do what we need to do here, I think it will be a good week for us. And then we come home to US Bank Stadium, and again, you're going to be in a controlled environment weather-wise, and so you're going to play in the days you're going to play. You're going to get your practice time in. You're working before the games, and so I think February and March are going to be huge for this program, that we get back to playing some baseball, back to player development, and hopefully by the time we get to the Big Ten season, we'll have a better idea of the competitiveness of our team.
Yeah, and I was going to ask, too, you mentioned the U.S. Bank Stadium portion of the schedule, 12 games currently on the docket, and you talk about development time, and maybe this isn't the case, but I would think one of the underrated parts of development is when you can play 12 games, 6 miles or 3 miles from where most of your team lives. That's a lot less time on airplanes and in airports where you can go take batting practice or infield or what have you. How important can that be over the stretch of a month?
Really important. Number one, you can maintain your routines, both in terms of the weight room, obviously school, and but also the protocols we have in the training room for arm care and the different things. And the pitchers get to pitch on the days they're supposed to pitch, and you get to get your bullpens in on the days you're supposed to get your bullpens in. Guys can sleep in their own beds, and the rest is really critical. And so you can get into a stretch here where you can really get into a routine. And I think as you talk about player development, the routine is critical. We saw what happened in 2021 when you didn't have those routines. The impact it can have on a program, especially when you have young players and players that need player development time.
Yeah, no question. And you have some exciting matchups coming up in that U.S. Bank Stadium. Tell us a little bit about the Cambria Classic.
Yeah, the Cambria Classic, our annual tournament. We're excited. We haven't had it the last 2 years. We're excited to have it back. And again, it's going to be kind of a Big Ten crossover. We have Notre Dame and West Virginia and Kansas coming in here. And then us in Illinois and Michigan State will play across kind of in a challenge format. And it'll be great competition for us. Notre Dame was in the Super Regionals last year, another strong team. And so you have, a couple of teams from the Big 12 and a couple of teams from one team from the ACC, Notre Dame. So, it'll be strong competition. And we have some other good opponents. We've got Air Force coming in there. That's always kind of a sleeper out there in the college baseball world. They have a better program than people probably realize. And so we have a good schedule. We have a schedule I think is a fair schedule for where our program's at right now coming out of the pandemic. I think it'll challenge us, and I think it'll also get us ready for the Big Ten.
Coach, to follow up on that, I know a lot of people are looking at that schedule and see that game on the 25th with the Twins. And I don't know, will Major League Baseball, is that going to be a cooperative thing, or do we know yet where that game sits in terms of what that situation might be?
Yesterday, there was a little movement in terms of some of the things they're trying to reach agreement on. I think this week, the Twins will, and Major League Baseball are going to have to make a decision on what's going to happen with the spring training games. I think the report date for most of the teams is this week, at least for the pitchers and catchers. And so I think if they don't get started this week, then there's probably not a strong chance we'll play that game. And so I'm guessing we're going to hear something here probably by the middle of the week, one way or the other. Obviously, it would be disappointing. So it's a great opportunity. As everybody knows, I think we have a great relationship with the Minnesota Twins and their organization, Pohlad family, and for our kids to have a chance to be in that environment and play against the Twins, and what it does for you in terms of your brand and recruiting is significant. And we get to celebrate our partnership in baseball between us and the Twins organization. So that'd be disappointing, but it's the nature of the world we're living in. And seems like we've been having to be pretty flexible recently. And we have a plan in place if we can't play that game with another team that's going to be in the area. So once we get the word whether we're playing or not, then we'll be an announcement. But I think at least we'll be able to play a baseball game. If it's not with the Twins, we'll be with another Division I opponent.
Gotcha. Very good. Yeah, that's too bad if it doesn't work. But there's, I suppose, as you said, flexibility. And then maybe, next year, hopefully we're all back to normal and maybe you can get that thing back on the schedule. Because I know the players love it and I know you enjoy it, just to see your guys enjoying that aspect of it, right?
Yeah, we have quite a few Minnesotans, alumni of the university and the athletic program, and some of our boosters and supporters that are in Florida at that time of the year. And it's always been a great time. We've had an event before the game and had an opportunity to bring these people and have an event and connect with them. And I think that the social piece of it and the piece of an opportunity to connect with your supporters and your alumni and fans is significant. And that'll be that's another disappointment in the whole thing, is not to have those opportunities to see some of these people.
Well, let's dive in a little deeper on your team here in this 2022 spring. Let's start with pitching. What do you see from your pitching staff? What are you hoping to see here in the next? As you mentioned, this is an important stretch before Big Ten play. What do you like about the pitching here?
Well, no question, we got to pitch better than we did last year. There's no question about that. And our pitching coach, Tom McDevitt, I think, has done a tremendous job, number one, of retooling our roster on the mound. We brought in 4 transfers out of the portal that are older, experienced, had success at the Division I level. I think they're going to play a significant part in our success on the mound. And so I think I look at our staff overall from top to bottom. I think there's more quality depth in that pitching matchup. But Aiden Maldonado was a transfer from Illinois. That's senior, and he was drafted out of high school. He's got a tremendous arm. I think he's going to probably be in our starting mix Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Sam Ireland, who was really starting to take off last year as a sophomore, and then had an arm injury, and basically we didn't rush him back. He didn't pitch again the rest of the season. Got hurt about halfway through, and he looks extremely well. Probably will be our Friday guy. Jack Liffrey was one of our starters last year as a left-hander, and he'll be in that mix. And I think there's some other good options in there. JP Massey is back. I think we got him back to a better place than he's been the last couple of years. He's a talented kid that just needs to get out there and pitch more and get some experience, but he's in a better place. And, I think we got a transfer from Omaha, who's from Medina, Richie Holitz. He was the top pitcher of the Summit League last year. Really like him. He's a 3-pitch guy and fills up the strike zone. So he's going to be able to help us. And I think some of the guys that have been in the program have made another step as well. And Trent Schobel has gotten a lot better. I think the big story is George Clausen, who was our top recruit in the 20 freshman class, had Tommy John surgery. It's March of his freshman year in 2020, and 21, excuse me. And he's back, and he's healthy. He was in the National All-Star game, high school All-Star game, and it was a premium recruit, and he's been back on the mound. His velocity's back to his 95, 97 again, and we're not going to get a lot of innings out of him early or take him along slow. It's probably going to be 1 inning a weekend for a while here, but he's healthy. And I think by the time the Big Ten season comes, he'll be a significant part of our staff. On the backside of that, we have a transfer from Iowa, Will Sim, probably going to be our closer. Has a tremendous arm. And he looks like he's going to add some significant things to our roster. But, Noah DeLuca and Josh Culver, some guys that were with us last year, have improved. And, I just like the depth in our roster. In the first month of the season, you're going to use them all. You got more openers right now than you got starters because guys are on pitch counts. And so you're going to have a guy open up and pitch 60 to 70 pitches. You use so much of your staff the first 15 or 20 games until you get pitch counts up and figure out roles for people. So to sit here today and say this is what our rotation looks like, and this is what our bullpen looks like, those things will be sorted out. I just think there's some options there. And we have a couple of freshmen, Sam Malik and Seth Clausen, that I think have shown in practice so far that can help us. So I like the pitching roster. We have 4 left-handers in that mix as well. And I like what I've seen. Let's see when the bright lights come on and the scoreboard comes on and people are in the stands and we can continue to do what I've seen in practice. They've been able to compete over the plate with some pretty good stuff. So I'm looking forward to seeing them pitch because what I've seen in practice, I've been impressed with. So if we can pitch and play defense, we got a chance. I think all the good teams I've had in Minnesota have done those two things, thrown the ball over the plate, competed over the plate, and we played good defense. And I like what I've seen. There's a chance to do those things and do well, consistently well. And the offense has got a little more experience in it than it did a year ago. So I like where we're at. But, you got to get out in game environments and really find out who can do what.
Yeah, no doubt. It's going to be exciting to see all of that unfold. You mentioned defense and how important that is to field the ball, catch the ball, and throw the ball. What do you like around the infield and the outfield for you guys right now?
Well, we got to replace, third base. Jack Wassel graduated. And Zach Robbie signed with the Milwaukee Brewers, so you got to replace your third baseman, second baseman. Ronnie Sweeney's back at first base, so I thought was one of our better players last year. He came back on his COVID year. He was a junior college guy, so most of the junior college guys, it's 1 year to figure it out, one good year. And I think Ronnie's finally at that stage where it's that first year is over, and starting to see what we thought we had. Much more consistent. It's going to be in the middle of our lineup. And Chase Stanky, our catcher, is a senior, and he as well, I think, is back to where he should be in terms of his player development. Been a much, much better player this fall and winter. I think it's because he's finally gotten the player development time he needed. And shortstop last year, we had a number of guys. We ran out there, didn't really have a guy that played consistently out there. I think that's still a position that we have to figure out who's going to be the guy there. Drew Stahl played there last year as a freshman. And, he's going to get an opportunity to have a job. We brought a transfer in from Arizona State, Joe Hauser from Wisconsin. He's going to get an opportunity to be the shortstop. And then we have a freshman, Brady Council. His father is Craig Council, the manager of the Brewers. And Brady's down 20 pounds since last fall. He's starting to come on. He's starting to get more confident and relaxed and slowing the game down. So those guys are going to battle it out at shortstop. And, I think it'll be interesting to see how that position has to develop. If you're not strong up the middle, it's hard to be a championship caliber team. But I think there's one of those guys is going to emerge, and if not, we'll piece it together. Noah Berghammer is a middle infielder that plays both sides, and he's a senior, and not the offensive threat that some of the rest of them are, but he can play defense, so we could end up in that route as well. And you got Brett Bateman in center field. Brett, played about half the year. He came back from an injury, had in high school, and I really liked what I saw. He's a premium player, outstanding defender, left-handed hitter, probably at leadoff. He's capable of stealing 30 bases in a season, and I hope we can see that out of him. And Andrew Wilhite in left field is a senior, and Easton Bertrand came back, and he's a fifth-year guy in right field, and we have Otto Grimm, who's a third-year guy, left-handed hitter in the outfield. And then one guy I need to talk about is Jack Kelly. He's going to help us behind the plate. He can play third base in the outfield, and he's shown so much more consistency at the plate in practice. I think Jack's a sleeper in the group from what I've seen in practice. And the good thing I like about him, we can move him around. He's played first, third. He's going to be our backup catcher, our second catcher, and can play in the outfield. And if he continues to swing the bat like he has, he'll be on the diamond someplace. Each time the lineup's out there, especially against right-handed pitching. So I think he's one of the surprises. So we have some options. It'll sort itself out. Everybody will get a chance, and we'll see what we got come probably the middle of March.
Yeah, and then offensively, obviously it's a mix there in terms of all the guys you just said. What kind of a lineup do you think you'll have offensively?
We're heavy left-handed, so obviously that concerns you a little bit just because of the left-handed pitchers out there. But we've spent all year long just trying to get as many at-bats against left-handed pitching for our left-handers, both live and off our machines and breaking balls and different things. And so it'll be left-handed. Bateman's left-handed and Wilhite's left-handed in the outfield, and Jack Kelly's left-handed. And you got, Kyle Bork, who's right-handed, will play at third base some, so you could do a platoon situation. Chase Stanky's left-handed. Ronnie Sweeney's left-handed. Austin Merrill's a switch hitter, so we can turn him around to the right side, and all the shortstops are right-handed hitters. So as you can see, we're heavy on the left side. We had a lineup like that in 18 that had 5 or 6 left-handed hitters in it. I think you see more right-handed pitching and right-handed sliders than you do left-handed pitchers, and our guys will have, I think, have gotten better against left-handed pitching on left. So there'll be at least 4, probably 5 left-handed hitters in there consistently. They're all going to be in the top half of the lineup. Bateman and Wilhite and Stanky and Ronnie Sweeney will probably some days will be the first 4 guys, and they're all left-handed. So you're going to see a left-handed lineup, and so I think we'll have to make sure that we can put together some quality bats left-handed pitching as we go along as well.
College baseball certainly changed. I mean, over the 41 years that you have seen it, no doubt. But from an offensive standpoint, the home runs and the way they've now, governed the bats a little bit, I guess. With this lineup, you have some guys that can still hit the ball over the fence? I mean, it's always good when you can get a 3-run shot on one swing, right?
Yeah, Ronnie Sweeney showed us this last year. I think he had 8 or 9 home runs. As I said, I still think he was growing as a player last year. Chase Sankey has plenty of power in his bat. Will Height, Jack Kelly, I think are very capable. So, I think first and foremost, we got to put the ball in play. We struck out way too many times last year. You got to put the ball in play and force the defense to play baseball and handle the ball. So I think first of all, we got to see if we can have quality at bats and get the ball in play. I think there is potential for us to have some extra base power. No question. I've seen it in practice some. We have a track man in our indoor facility, so we get a read on every pitch that's put in play. So we can tell how far it was hit and where it was hit and what the metrics were on it. So you get some sense for kind of contact you're making and what kind of power is there. So the analytics have helped you for indoor baseball, that's for sure. You get some real reads, and it helps the guys get an understanding of how well they're scoring up the baseball. So I think it's there. I think Easton Bertrand has really been a guy that's hasn't hit for high average, but has hit for power. If we can get him to put a few more balls in play and still be able to have some of that power, and he can steal a base. I think the other thing about this team, we have 4 or 5 guys that can be able to steal some bases. I think you're going to see that be part of our offensive plan here. We're going to start some guys. Some guys are going to have the green light. We're going to put people in motion here. And I'd like to see us be able to steal 60 to 80 bases this year. I think we're capable of that. I think we're going to have to do that to have a good offensive team.
Very good. Let's talk about you personally now. You're entering year 41. You signed a 2-year contract extension in the offseason. Kind of take us through the thought process there. And I know personally for me, it's good to have you back.
Yeah. I think when you do something for as long as I have, I'm 66 now. So you got to pay attention to where you're at, your energy level, your health, your passion for what you do. This is a big commitment. And, we've been going at it 7 days a week here. Since January 15th, and that's not going to stop. So first and foremost, I've told myself repeatedly here as I've gotten older and this longer, I want to make sure that I have the energy and passion to give the kids what they deserve. I show up each day and I can give them my best. I expect them to give, our program their best. And as long as I can do that, and I feel like I bring value to their experience and into our program, then I'd like to continue. But when I start to feel like, hey, this is getting to be a challenge for me, I don't have the same passion, I'm not committed like I have been throughout my career, then I'll be the first one to tell you it's time to retire and move on. And I'm not going to cheat the kids in their experience. They deserve the effort from their head coach that they need to have. And so we'll just kind of take it as we go along year by year here. And I'll evaluate after this season is over and see how I feel and whether I want to continue on. It's a big commitment to be a Division I baseball coach. We have 37 guys on the roster that you got to continually help along the way. You got to the recruiting piece is going faster and faster and faster, and that takes a lot of energy. And then you got the game schedule. We play the most games. Us in softball, I play the most games of any of the sports there, and the travel and some weeks you're playing 7 or 8 games a week, and so it takes some energy, and so I kind of pay attention to that piece, and I've really enjoyed this team so far. Actually, my when I was leaving Saturday morning to go to practice, and sometimes when you get into the month in the indoor building, it feels like Groundhog Day. Every day is the same. And she said, "Well, what would you rather be doing?" I said, "With the group we have right now, I'd rather be with them because I have just been really impressed with that group and how connected they are, the collaboration, the culture they're building, how much they've supported each other here, and." It's been easy for me to be honest with you. We got the bus after we got off the bus from Purdue last year. We got in the meeting room and just laid it and told the guys things got to change here, and it starts with the players in the program. I'm a believer the leader of the team is the team itself, and we don't have captains, but we have to change some things. We have to hold some people accountable to the standard we have in this program, player development, and what we do off the field and academically. And I give them credit; they got together in the summer, and I could see the change coming. We've had very, 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 very few problems since they got back on campus last fall. I've been impressed with the work ethic. They show up every day and get after it. So if you have kids like that around you, it makes it a lot easier to get out of bed and go to work every day because they're fun to be around. And I can focus my energy on helping the guys that need help and trying to be the best manager I can and best leader of people. And when you don't have to deal with problems every single day. And that's what we don't have. And that's why I really had a lot of fun since we got back together last fall, and I'm energized and looking forward to the season. Yeah,
that's awesome because I've noticed too, as I get older also, just being around college kids can offer some energy. And we've talked a lot. I'm a baseball guy myself, love it. There's not much quite like being on a diamond, right? And I know you're looking forward to getting down there on Friday or Thursday and playing over the weekend, and you're on a diamond, you're in a dugout, you're standing around the cage. I'm not sure there's much for guys like you and I that wouldn't give you more energy than being on a baseball field.
Always cherish the relationship piece. And I think in our game, because we're together so much and spend so much together, you can really have an opportunity to develop some relationships. And I just love having conversations with our players about just stuff going on in our world, about their families, their hobbies, how they grew up and the things they like to do. And it's just some of the conversations we strike up together are fascinating. They're a different generation than I came from. So I'm intrigued sometimes about how they go through their experience every day at their age as compared to what we did. And so I just, and you're right, we're at the ballpark, and our game is, we're there 2 hours before game time, 2.5 hours. So, a lot of dead time before the game starts, and the other team's taking BP. So you got opportunities to connect with people and really have some conversations. And I think if you do those things, then I think the experience becomes a little bit harder. So, I enjoy that piece. No question about it. Some years you have lots of energy givers and not so many energy takers. And we have too many energy takers, have too many things to deal with, too many guys that aren't on the same page as everybody else. Oh boy, that gets difficult. And so far we got guys that are energy givers. That makes my job a lot easier, and allow me, I think, to be better manager.
One thing you mentioned, relationships with players. I did an interview with Robbie last year, and he talked about his career started slow. He was hitting like $150, I think he said. I want to say maybe you guys were out in Portland or Seattle or someplace, and he said one thing you told him, and it was a little thing, turned his whole career around here, and he took a called third strike, and he said he was complaining and not happy about the call and kind of moped back to the dugout, and he said, 14 asked me, do you want to play baseball or do you want to umpire? And the answer was, I want to play baseball. And he said from that point on, his career flipped. That's got to feel good, one, to know even the little, something maybe little, kind of funny, but you're making a point and you turn a kid's career around just based on one little thing.
Well, that's what you hope you can do. And that's the relationship piece. If you can have a relationship piece with people and pay attention to what's going on in their experience. And I have a lot of experience. I've seen it all. And so I try to use my experience in the game to help people like Zach. And Zach was a freshman and very competitive. Sometimes his competitiveness gets in the way too, and it serves him well at other times. But he was hard on himself, and he expected to jump into Division I baseball and just hit like he did in high school. And I know you try to tell kids when you recruit them how difficult the jump is to face Division I pitching versus on it consistently day after day after day versus in a high school setting or a traveling setting. And they don't believe you when you tell them until they get there, and then they find out how hard it is. So just try to get Zach to say, hey, Zach, just quit being so hard on yourself. And let's focus our energy on playing the game and having fun playing the game, and take the failures and the bad at-bats. Let's learn something from them, and so we can do it better the next time, and quit complaining and blaming everybody else, and, be accountable for where you're at, and let's try to find a way to fix it, and let's have fun doing it. Well, luckily he was ready, and he was willing to listen. Some people aren't ready, but I think he was ready. And I think most importantly, he trusted me. Again, helps as a coach if the player trusts you, and then you can make an impact. If they don't trust you or they're not ready for information, it's really hard to get in there. And sometimes you just gotta let them go and until they're ready. And unfortunately, some light bulb goes off quicker than others. But Zach, we talked about that the other day. He saw one of our freshmen. He goes, that guy reminds me of me. You have a conversation with him. I said, Zach, we've already had the conversation, but it's not taking hold yet. But it will.
That's pretty good.
Bad enough. Eventually, he'll come back.
Yeah,
so.
and that's great too, because then you got guys coming back that know the culture and can if you maybe can't get the message across, because sometimes guys won't listen to a coach, another guy, another player. As you said, the player-led team is the team that's going to win more often than not.
And Zach did go talk to the player, so. Yeah. And they look up to him, and he's a former player, and he's playing professional baseball. And he said, "Hey, I give the young man credit because he was willing to have that conversation." So some kids would just blow it off and say, I know more than you do, but he was willing to listen and take what he had to offer and see if it could help him. And so give the kid credit. because he was willing to open his ears and see what he had to say.
One final quick question for you. Next week on our podcast, we're going to have the Polish Eagle, Dick Jonkowski, on as a guest, and we all love Dick, and he's been through some.
That won't be boring.
Yeah, no, we'll. I think we'll have some fun with that one for sure. And he's been through some stuff. He's had a couple of bouts with cancer, which he's whipped up to this point, and now, he had COVID. He got in a car accident. I mean, he's had a rough few weeks, about 6 weeks.
Well, I spoke to him recently. I called him, was check on him, see how he is.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you what it's been like to have him around the ball field and to hear that voice, coming out of the PA system with the way he enunciates names and announces different things. And obviously you've been to many baseball banquets. If there's a baseball banquet, he's emceeing it usually. But what a treasure he is, right?
Question. I think first and foremost, he knows the history of our program in the tradition of history, not of Gopher baseball, but Gopher sports. And I have somebody in a PA position that really understands the history and tradition. We have alumni gatherings, or we bring teams back to recognize them for their successes, and he's there. He knows the guys. He watched them play. He has so much more than just being a PA announcer. And of course, I was enjoying. He came down before the games and we had a visit. He always told me a joke before the game. That was a joke for me every time he came to the ballpark. But talk about somebody that's passionate about Gopher athletics and Gopher sports and Gopher baseball. He cares a tremendous amount, and it was reflected in his work and the way he did his job. And he did it with some personality and with some flair, and he made it fun. Dick, he likes to have fun. He likes to make people laugh and enjoy himself. And I just I miss not having him at the ballpark. But things change in our world, and move on to the next guy. But he's a dear friend. We'll always cherish the time we've spent together at the ballpark and doing Gopher baseball public address announcing, and we're blessed to be able to have that time together. And I know he's been through a lot. I've called him a few times to check on him and make sure he's okay. And I told him we're planning a big alumni gathering on May. I think it's May 6th against Nebraska Saturday. And we haven't been able to honor some of our championship teams the last 2 years. And we have the national championship team from 1960 that was supposed to be done in 2020.
Right.
And now we have 7 or 8 other championship teams that have 10-year, 20-year, 30-year anniversaries. Actually, my first team in 82, this will be the 40th anniversary. We won the Big Ten championship. So we're going to combine it all into a big alumni day on that Saturday in May first weekend in May against Nebraska. And told Dick on the phone the last time I spoke to him, you got to be there. There'll be a lot of guys you'll want to see. They'll want to see you. And so, yeah, he's really a special guy and somebody that's really connected to our history and tradition and Gopher sports. Yeah,
for sure. And that'll be a fun weekend, too, especially if you can get the Polish Eagle out to the ball field as well. But we'll talk to you before then. Have some fun at the ballpark here over the next few weeks down in Florida. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. I was enjoying being with you.
My thanks to legendary Golden Gopher baseball coach John Anderson for joining me on the Go Gopher podcast. He's a true Minnesota treasure. And again, our thanks to our brand new presenting sponsor, Sunbelt Business Advisors and True North Mergers and Acquisitions. If you're buying or selling a business, visit sunbeltminnesota.com or tnma.com. The Go Gopher podcast is also brought to you by State Farm agent Tony Hoagland. Again, I'd invite you to listen to past podcasts, and please be sure to subscribe to the Go Gopher podcast right now. It's absolutely free to listen. We'll talk again next week.